Hey everybody, welcome to today's Academy of Insurance After Show. I'm playing host today. I'm Patrick Wright. I'm the Director of Education for the Academy of Insurance. And with me today is Joe Harrington. Joe gave us our class today, Avoiding Underinsurance in property coverages. And Joe, this was really, I believe, a well-timed session because of some of the things that we've dealt with over the last couple of years. And we talked a little bit about that in the class. Um, do you feel like this is in some ways just an acceleration of a trend that may have already been there?
Yeah, when you say it's been timely, it's been a good 2 to 3 years that this has been a high profile concern. It really was the California wildfires that cast the light on this, because those created so many total losses. Yeah, property valuation, there has been, like I said, a revolution in property valuation since the late 1990s. And it's kind of surprising that this would happen. But what has happened, I think, is the number of catastrophes, particularly wildfire catastrophes, and the number of total losses that came with them. Because it's with the total loss that you realize, oh, we don't have enough money to rebuild. These are not a rash of kitchen fires. These are a rash of wildfires that are taking out the whole structure. And I think, and this is something I did look into, and I invite anybody else with more resources behind them. I'm just thinking that there are more updated codes and more code enforcement, but I can't prove that. So one would think that a greater percentage of losses being total losses, a greater percentage of losses being correlated, in other words, happening at the same time, plus a growing emphasis on codes and code enforcement, all contribute to making what were previously adequate limits inadequate.
Certainly. And you touched on a couple of things that are really near and dear to my heart, especially when I think about property insurance, especially from a commercial standpoint. One of those being making sure that there's an allocation for debris removal. I mean, when if you have a total loss on a residential dwelling,
Yeah,
debris removal is pretty straightforward. You got, it's a house, maybe it's a 2-story house, maybe it's a larger house, but I mean, at the end of the day, you've got likely a frame or a masonry type construction. But when you move into the commercial realm, debris removal can escalate greatly depending on what's going on in the building. You could have hazardous materials, and even older residential dwellings have got the potential for some hazardous materials. But debris removal is a potential big issue.
Yeah, it is. And I hope I emphasize that if you can be short on your debris removal coverage, even with a adequate building property limit, it is knowing what you're made of and what will have to be removed in the event of a loss. I kind of concentrated on the fact that it's dependent on the building property limit, but dependent in part. But again, it could be a cost in excess of that, and you need to consider it. And what's also interesting is the countervailing potential benefits, the vigorous growth of the market for recycling construction materials. This has really taken root, and now it's taking off. So as that becomes more efficient and more lucrative, that could provide serious relief for debris removal. People are coming, they're taking it, and they're maybe paying you for it, or at least able to have an incentive themselves not to charge you to take it away. But that's, like I said, it has taken root. It has not yet taken off. I kind of think that it will. So that'll make a big difference going forward. That's on the plus side.
Yeah, I agree with you. And another item that you touched on that is that I think is very important is the idea of ordinance and law coverage. You know, because if you're I'm in a building, I'm in a dwelling that is probably 60 years old.
Yeah.
So I know that not everything is up to present building code.
Right.
But if I were in a dwelling that was built in this century since 2000, it's entirely likely I'm not in a building that is up to current building code as well.
Right. Absolutely. I'm in the same thing with you. My house is about 60 years old. I don't know how hard it would be to demolish, but ultimately you'd have to, if there was something seriously out of code that required you to demolish the building or a part of a building that wasn't damaged, yeah, that's an enormous cost. And I'm pretty sure I have the standard homeowners coverage for that, and whether it would be enough remains to be seen. And keep in mind, these costs are capped by their, the recovery is capped by their limits. It's not like you can move recovery from one basket to another. And, therefore, knowing your ability to set your limit and knowing that your building property limit is not just a question of replacement cost, but adequacy for triggering all these other limits that come from it. I don't know that the average homeowner has a lot of choice in that matter. I suspect perhaps more so in the new high net worth market as it grows and develops. But commercial property owners do have choices, I believe, and ought to be mindful of them.
Yeah, especially a commercial property that anybody selling a commercial property policy I would think would be remiss not to, at the very least, suggest or bring up the opportunity to have ordinance or law coverage, simply because when you and it all depends on the building and the area. How, if you have a 50% damaged building and the area says, well, at that point now you've got to demolish and rebuild entirely, that's all uninsured.
Exactly. And it certainly is very much in commercial lines, but I think even in personal lines, as the high net worth market grows, it generates some changes in the personal lines market that will filter down to middle class, for lack of a better term. But throughout the value of agents and brokers and the need for agents and brokers is going to grow with these options and with these considerations. No one, in my opinion, no one who's smart is going to go online and, make all these choices themselves. There's a lot to think about, because now if you're running a business and you need EPLI and you need, professional liability coverage for an occupation that didn't used to require it, and so forth. Cyber insurance being the big one, or your commercial auto exposure is growing beyond what you can amend to a CGL. So, with all of that, selecting from the types of coverages and knowing all the ways to get the best value for your premium dollar really empowers agents and brokers. And clearly underinsurance for property, or rather insurance to value for property is a keystone of that.
Oh, sure. And kind of related to that, you also touched on functional replacement valuation. And for me, that is one of those endorsements on the commercial side that I'm a proponent of. Yeah. Especially when you're dealing with older buildings or buildings that were adapted from one use to another use.
Yeah.
I had fire departments who had inherited school buildings when their municipality, consolidated the school district, and they
Right.
said, "Here, have a building." Well, they're not going to rebuild that building if something
Right.
were. So, making things that make sense for the insured in their situation in a lot of ways, that's just good risk management.
Yeah. Absolutely. And risk management, considered risk management is becoming more and more of a thorough consultative discipline. So now clearly, for all small businesses, there is the basis for looking at all kinds of coverages and all kinds of ways to get the right limits in the right places for the right price. And it's it's a specialized undertaking, and there's a lot of opportunity there. There was a time when, well, if you bought a house, you bought a homeowner's policy, and it had those, internal limits, and that's still largely the case for most houses. A small business, a bot in and of itself, it certainly deserves more consideration. Where's the cyber? Where's the employment practices? Where's other discrimination? Do you need any professional, even management liability? Talk about D&O policies for privately owned businesses. What's that about? And therefore, with insurance to value, it's having all the pieces in place to avoid a surprise at the time of a loss and reduce the delay involved with the loss. And perhaps I should have emphasized that more. All of this feeds into a delay, for the potential for delay, and therefore the potential to have a healthy limit for loss of use coverage, but also have coverages in place that reduce the delay, that don't strain your balance sheet, but actually have the insurer picking up the costs that move reconstruction along and get you back in your home or in business promptly.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And all this goes back to, making sure that the clients, the customers, the insured out there has the right knowledge, has the right coverages, so that, like you said, in the event of a claim, the last thing that you want to be having is a conversation that says, "Yeah, I'm not sure that was covered," because that's going to be an issue that's going to be much bigger. Anytime there's confusion at the time of a claim, somebody hires a lawyer.
Right. And I was surprised myself at how, given, I have a CPCU, I do what I do, and I re-shopped my plain vanilla coverages for my household and tried to add the coverage I need for my writing, and it was incredibly difficult. I was surprised at how tough it was to do it, and of course I did work through agents. But with these considerations, there's also your policy linkages, the discount you get on your homeowner's policy if you have an auto policy with the same carrier, and the umbrella and so forth. So this begins to obviate some of the considerations. I could maybe get a better coverage or a better rate or a better limit with a different homeowner's policy, but if I don't have that homeowner's policy, then the rest of the package falls apart. That was, this is not new to anybody in the business, but it's just a reminder to me of what hits people and how hard it is to do that. I'm hoping that, there's some carrier people there, and, agents with influence among carriers to push it to, structuring the application process, structuring the consultation process, to walking people through these considerations and allowing them to make informed but clear and comfortable decisions, understanding, okay, I know what's at stake. I'm gonna, go light on that one so I can go heavy on that one. Hope it's there.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Joe. I appreciate the time that you've given us today for both the class and the after show. We always appreciate having you with us.
And I always appreciate the opportunity, Patrick. Thank you very much.
Well, on behalf of Joe Harrington and the Academy, I'm Patrick Reid. Just saying thanks everybody for being with us. We'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.